Greetings and welcome to Channel Other Doc. I am Jim. I use he, him pronouns, and this is the premiere of our short campaign of Don't Rest Your Head. This is a game where basically everyone is playing powered insomniacs who have been awake so long that they can now see the nightmares, and the nightmares can see them. And, well, they have access to things they never had access to before. Heavens help them. Let's see what happens. We'll go ahead and go around, and folks can say who they are and who they're playing. And we will. I'm going to go sort of anti-clockwise, and I will start with Anino. Hello.
Hey, my name's Anino. I am using he, him pronouns. The character I'm playing for this session is Jomaru Wonder.
Excellent, excellent. And now let us go round to Alyssa. Hello.
Hello. My name is Alyssa. She, her pronouns. And I am playing Lila Lior.
Awesome, awesome. And Rock, hi.
Hey, my name is Rock, he, him pronouns, and I will be playing the character of Dustin Lint.
Excellent, excellent. And finally, we have a new face to this channel, someone who I can't believe we managed to land here as part of one of our campaigns. Hi, Lauren!
You're such a goof, but you have won my heart by not making me do my intro first like everybody else does. Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm that salty ginger over on Twitter, part of the Tales from the Grim team and Salty Sweet Games on Twitch. I use she, her pronouns, as is my character I'm playing, Nancy Knight.
Excellent. And yes, it's the outro that'll be first this time. But yeah, one can only go counterclockwise for so long. So for this session, we're going to be starting out with, as has become common for these short campaigns that I do. We're going to be doing a bunch of session 0 stuff, and sort of coming around trying to sort of knit things together to an extent, figure things out about these characters, and then we, if depending on the timing, we'll go ahead and get into some RP on this. Before I do that, though, just as the standard thing that I must say, like we do with most games on this channel, we're going to be using the X card, the N card, and the O card. If we hit something that's crossing a line for one of us, or any of us can type an X in the Zoom video chat or anywhere else, or make an X symbol, and then we'll back up and do something else. If something happens that we're okay having in the game, but we don't want a graphic description of it, we can type an N in the Zoom chat, and then we'll fade to black on it or put it behind a veil. So it'll be there, but we won't go into detail. Finally, if we're exploring a topic or an area of roleplay that's particularly intense for us, but we want to keep going, we can put an O in the chat to let us know we're okay and that we're good to keep piling on the drama. Something else we can do is put an O with a question mark after it when we're moving into a difficult topic, or we say or we do something and then think, maybe that might have been a little too much. Then everyone else can respond to that, again with an X, an N, or an O to let us know if we're still doing okay. Very important for this genre in particular, as it's horror / urban fantasy, and it's all about nightmares. The premise here being that everyone has been awake for quite a long time, and weird things are happening, and that's kind of the launching point. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go around and first talk about our characters a little bit, answering the questions. I'm going to do basically one question at a time per circuit. We're going to keep going counterclockwise as we do this. And this game functions off of character questions, which is a great boon because it tells the GM things and helps us to kind of figure out where to do things and where to apply pressure. So we're going to start again with Anino. Your character is what has been keeping you awake?
So Jomaru is a conceptual artist in the video game industry. Everything that's been keeping him awake is the fact that every character or creature that he conceptualizes for work comes to life in his head as a another personality. And so the thing is that they don't go away, and all the personalities in his head never go dormant or go to sleep at the same time. So there are now just warring factions in his head. And the way he sort of organizes it is that all of the characters just arrange themselves into a professional wrestling federation in his head. And they have, various factions and ridiculous storylines and conflicts that go on 24/7.
Excellent. I am delighting in this concept already. Very cool. So, for Alyssa, what is keeping Lila awake?
For Lila, as if working a full-time job and then playing musical gigs at night is not enough to keep her awake. She is currently working on trying to pin down a certain haunting melody that she can't get out of her head.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. that actually. Yes. Good. Okay. Good. Yes. That's good. That's quite good. There are things. There are things that can be put into play now. So Rock, what is keeping Dustin awake?
I'm gonna say Dustin has been. Dustin's been working on his, kind of creative career. He's been working on a number of projects, artwork type stuff, and he's recently run into a bit of a dry spell, and he keeps coming up with these ideas, but as soon as he goes to start crafting the ideas, they just, for some reason, they seem to just go horribly wrong, and they almost become perverse imitations of what his original concept was.
Okay. Yeah. Let me actually. So wait, you were making. I'm sorry. For some reason, now this is the point where my brain sort of decided to do that thing it does to me occasionally. What is it that Dustin is creating?
He does like sculptures. So
Okay.
And some of it is some of it is supposed to be like stuff that can be worn. So he'll work with different types of media.
Okay, so all different sort of substances. Is
Right.
it mostly like clay, or does he go with like wax, or does he go with other stuff?
He works with a variety of things. He works with clay. He works with plaster. He works with high density foam.
Ooh, okay.
Pretty much just kind of anything that will hold any kind of structure.
Okay, excellent. Good. All right. And around to Lauren, what is keeping Nancy awake?
So, besides the fact that she's a grad student, and I don't know if I've ever met a grad student who sleeps, her little sister recently ran away or went missing. No one's really sure. And we were really close. Her little sister's name is Alice. And Nancy is sure that she'll still call. Like, no matter what people tell her, she's sure that Alice is going to call her, and she can't miss that call, because if she misses it, then she's failed her more than she already has. It's like her last chance. So she will not go to sleep just on the off chance that Alice will call.
About how old is Alice?
So if Nancy's 23, Alice is 20.
Cool. Good. And what you said she's a grad student. What is she studying?
Film.
Ah,
I'm not pulling from reality and many sleepless nights.
I started trying to slide down that chute once. I didn't make it. I didn't make it in.
Okay.
But that's quite all right. All right, and so back around to Nino. My next question, actually, before we even get into it, what does? Well, yeah, we know until recently, Jamara was a game designer. Is he currently unemployed, or is he doing something else right now?
So he, what just happened to him is he just got fired from his job at Tempest Entertainment for making political commentary on a live gaming stream, thus proving that his talent does not make him bulletproof in the industry.
Yep. So actually, that just happened. Okay, yeah. So that is the interesting thing about the what just happened to you question is that is where we are kind of picking up everybody's stories. This is a game that very much thrives on the individual spotlight, and so that is it is a thing where we're going to be starting with everyone's stories individually, and then they may intersect at different points, and that's basically kind of how that's looking there. So let's go ahead and move around to Alyssa here again, and you can let me know what it is that just happened to Lila.
What just happened to Lila is she was in the middle of playing a gig, and she sort of felt a shift in the atmosphere of the club, and she realized that some of the regular patrons are more than what they appeared at first glance, and that perhaps they may be feeding on the energy of the human patrons.
Was there a particular thing that someone was doing that kind of keyed her off to this, or is it just a feeling more that she got?
Just kind of I want to say she got a vibe.
Okay, cool. And just to be clear, and I just want to make sure I get it. She is a musical performer. Is she a singer primarily, or are there other?
Singer and guitar player.
Singer and guitar player. Okay, cool. And does she compose her own stuff?
Yes.
All right. And let's so again, moving back around to Rock. What just happened to Dustin?
Dustin and his studio assistant are in the middle of an investigation because there was a piece of sculpture that Dustin was working on, and mysteriously the sculpture collapsed in on itself, almost killing the model that was wearing it. And both he and the assistant have, stated several times during the investigation that they had double and triple checked the mountings that were supposed to keep the sculpture open and prevent that collapse from happening. And yet, strangely, it still did.
So it collapsed even though supposedly safe. All right. Cool. And Lauren, what just happened to Nancy?
Nancy was walking home after class. Could be a break or the end of her day. And she noticed someone was following her. She can't see his face. He's got like a hat and a coat pulled up, which is really strange. It's not the right weather for that ensemble. And it looks like it's almost dirty. And she just like instinctively knows that he's following her and that she doesn't think he's like normal, like maybe not even human, but she doesn't know if her imagination's just getting away from her.
Okay. Let's see. Swinging back around to Anino for Jamaro, and for some reason I keep clicking off of everything just before I come back to you. I don't know why that is. But there it is. So what do we see on the surface with Jamaro?
So Jamaro's a African American. He's thin. His posture sags a bit, so he appears shorter than he really is, just from all those years of hunching over a drawing table. He still tries to dress professionally, so he's usually wearing a bit of a wrinkled button-down shirt with his sleeves rolled up. Keeps his hair really cut short. And he's always rearranging things at a table or wherever he is, just putting things in a particular order, just because everything in his head is so chaotic that it's sort of his weird coping mechanism.
Cool.
He's also pretty opinionated and not afraid to incite or provoke debate.
Okay. Well, we'll see where that goes. And let us move over again. Over for Alyssa, for Lila. What do we see on the surface with Lila?
Lila is usually calm and collected, cool under pressure. She works in customer service for her day job, so she's well practiced at it, even if she's actually, paddling frantically underneath. She is slim with wavy auburn hair, brown eyes, and sometimes she wears a Star of David.
Cool. Rock, for Dustin, what do we see on the surface?
On the surface, Dustin appears, he's kind of a tall, thin, white, red hair, kind of a Irish American type thing. He seems erratic sometimes. In animated, he will at times just be very calm, very quiet, and then all of a sudden he'll just start an outburst of talking and gesturing. Sometimes it's difficult to follow what he's saying because he can change topics in mid-sentence. So generally, he almost seems kind of like a slight mix between a relatively calm person and somebody who is erratic.
So just sort of like, does he turn on a dime?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Okay, and Lauren, what do we see on the surface with Nancy?
Nancy appears to be kind of your typical student. She's pretty in like a plain way. She's got kind of partially frizzy, light brown hair, blue eyes and freckles. Maybe a little like she doesn't eat very well. There are definitely like hollows under her eyes all the time. They're just worse recently. Um, you know, she's high functioning. She gets good grades, gets her work done on time, but she's mostly a bit of a loner. I think most people don't know much about her, but she's not, she doesn't stand out enough to make anybody that interested in looking into her more closely.
Cool, cool. All right, and so Anina, what lies beneath with Jamaro?
So, even though he presents himself as someone who's very proud to be a creative type in a very corporate kind of world, creating actually terrifies him just because it adds more weight to his crowded consciousness. And yeah, so that's basically it. It seems like he's fighting extra hard to pay attention to what's going on because there's this other. It feels like he's in a wrestling arena 24/7, essentially, just ending WWE network of his consciousness. And so he has to fight extra hard to make sure that he pays attention to what's going on in reality. And then sometimes things like that will blur. The more tired he gets. So.
Excellent. All right, Alyssa, what's been lies beneath for Lila?
She hates conflict. It makes her very anxious, even though she's always like good under pressure. She's good at managing customer service. She hates it. She would rather be making music, but she's also afraid if making music became her livelihood, she would loathe it as much as as much as she loathes working 9 to 5.
Yeah, that's a mood. Definitely. Rock, what lies beneath for Dustin?
Generally speaking, Dustin just kind of moves through life, going through the motions, really kind of in a blank state. Everybody thinks that he's, this creative type, but in reality, most of the time, he's almost a zombie. He really doesn't have like something constantly going. And then he'll just randomly, all of a sudden, something will happen and he'll start to get this idea, this flash of inspiration. And honestly, it kind of scares him because he doesn't understand it. He has no idea where some of this stuff comes from. It's just like thoughts pop into his head fully formed. It's not like he even goes through a train or a process.
Nice. All right, and for Nancy, what lies beneath?
So underneath her kind of typical well-adjusted student act, she is almost constantly terrified of failure, which sucks when you're in the arts. And so she's really tightly wound with a lot of stress that needs release. So the way that she deals with that is she hooks up with all the wrong kind of people just to get some of that relief. Basically, she finds any physical way she can to not be thinking.
I feel as though this is going to very quickly become a campaign about the pain caused by attempting to make a living in the arts. And
It sounds like it so far.
Yeah, I'm like totally there for that because I understand. But
Do you, Jim? Do you really?
I know,
Yeah, you
right?
don't get it. You don't get it.
Jim's going to start weeping before the end of the night. Let's see.
The other way around.
It could be. Well, you have to laugh, otherwise you cry. I guess that's what they say. But let's ask Anita what Jamara's path is. Where's Jamara going?
So Jamaru is trying to figure out how to. You okay? Do you need a moment?
It'll heal. Keep going.
He's trying to. So Jamaru's trying to get a control of his talent, because if he doesn't, he's screwed. So he's really trying to sort of just cancel the network in his head, because the conflicts in the characters are sort of inciting him to be more combative and blunt than he really wants to be from a professional standpoint.
Excellent. And let's move on. I swear I promise. No, just this is not me going crazy. This is just things connecting up. Okay. Now for Lila, where are things heading? What's your path?
She is sort of, well, up until recently, she was just trying to balance her profession and her passion. But now that she's starting to discover these things that she has seen and what she can do because of it, she's starting to wonder if maybe she has a responsibility to do something about that.
Excellent. This is just there are a lot of things that just are, it just coincidentally seem to click into place with a very small amount of prep that I did, and it's just delightful. It's very delightful. And I'd like to thank you all for creating characters with concepts that so very, very easily play into the stuff. So let's finish this round out. Rock, what's Dustin's path?
Originally, Dustin thought that he needed to find some way of figuring out the source of his inspiration and get some kind of control over it. But at this point, really, he just wants to be able to create something that comes out the way that he had envisioned it and not end up as the terrors that he's been creating.
Well, that's where it comes down to, doesn't it? Lauren, what's Nancy's path?
She has no idea. She's in grad school, Jim. She used to want to be an actress for a long time. Then she got into filmmaking, and now she doesn't know because she doesn't even like that. She hates working on set because working on set sucks sometimes. So yeah, she just doesn't know, like, does any of it really matter? Whenever she sees people, she's like people who are in need, she feels like she needs to like drop everything to kind of go help them, even if she doesn't know them very well, and she's not sure if that's a path or just guilt. Because she's not going back to school again.
Yep. Yeah. That's that too is a mood. That too is a definite mood. Okay, so let's talk a little bit before we go over there. I actually do want to check and find out a few things that are a little more on the mechanical side, but not like entirely. But we'll get there. So I'm going to ask each of you about your responses and your talents. Basically, on this in this game, you have three stats. A player has three stats. They have discipline, madness, and exhaustion. Everyone starts out with discipline at 3 and madness and exhaustion at 0, and it's a downward spiral from there as madness and exhaustion increase. But initially, as a thing related to the madness stat, you have responses. You have 3 sets of either fight or flight responses, and so I just wanted to check on what you have there, and then also what your talents are. You have an exhaustion talent and a madness talent. The exhaustion talent being something that a human person can do, but you do it incredibly well, practically almost supernaturally well. The madness talent being something overtly supernatural that you can do. You've suddenly discovered that, you're awake for a while, you can suddenly do this thing. And once more time with going with Anino to find out for Jamaro, what are Jamaro's responses? What did you pick for that?
So now we get to the point of the character creation on which I got distracted by work.
Excellent, no problem. So you get you get a total of 3 responses essentially that can get filled in, checked as we go. And so you divide those 3 up between 2 categories. You have fight or flight. And so you can do you could put all 3 into fight and nothing in flight, or vice versa. Or you could do 2 in fight and 1 in flight, or 2 in flight and 1 in fight. And those are all the possible combinations. That's basically what we'd be looking at. You don't have to answer it immediately on the spot necessarily, but when the time comes that madness is dominating, that is going to be a thing we will need to that we will be engaging with.
It's going to definitely be 3 fight.
3 fight, gotcha. All right. And so let's see. So you also have. Did you think about your talents, your exhaustion talents, and your talent and your madness talent?
No.
Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. Just like I said, it's something that a thing that you're really good at that humans can do, and a thing that you can do that's supernatural, basically. And
okay. So so madness talent. My proposal is that he grows in stature and muscle. I'm going to call it macho madness, and that he becomes a larger than life character.
Oh, nice. No, perfect. That's perfect. Because all of these powers are kind of scalable. The number of madness dice I'm going to ask you to roll will depend on the degree of the effect you're trying to get. And it'll be usually from 1 to 6. Excellent. Cool. And if you think of an exhaustion talent, you can let us know when we come back to it. So for Lila, what are your responses?
Well, she's probably going to try to avoid conflict as much as possible. So I'm gonna say 2 flight and 1 fight.
Okay, awesome. There is only one time. Usually, you get to decide when you check one of those. I believe that if you fail on a roll and madness is dominating, I think I get to decide which one you check. But I will double check on that. But that's a thing. And what about your talents?
Okay. So for exhaustion talent, I want to say is tied to her voice, singing or talking people down, trying to enhance persuasion, kind of, but with sort of a musical slant.
Nice. And,
And for her madness talent, I went with I put down vibrokinesis. So we could get creative with that.
do we have any thoughts about what kind of thing that is? I
Um,
assume it involves
I'm
vibrations.
thinking, she can like cause vibrations to either like possibly heat things up or shatter glass or like speed things up or slow them down.
Cool,
But
I
that
like
is
it.
kind of like a general idea at the moment.
That's good, actually, for this in particular. That is how that works. So yeah, that that totally works. Okay, yeah, and yeah, the thing where I get to decide what response someone checks off, I just looked up, and that's just anytime a consequence can come in, which is basically if you're failing a roll and madness is not dominating, I can make you do that if I want. So, wandering around over again for Dustin, what are your responses?
I don't really, even though he has a traditional Irish temper, I don't really see Dustin as being the aggressive type. So I went with 1 in fight and 2 in flight.
Awesome. No, perfect. And what about his talents?
All right. So as far as that goes, really the only one that I had figured out is the exhaustion talent.
Okay.
And what I'm figuring there is that when he gets exhausted, he actually gets insight. As far as it's almost like when he's exhausted, he's got a higher level of clarity and consistency of thought that allows him to be able to make connections and see patterns and figure out things that he otherwise, wouldn't have, he would have struggled with.
Nice. No, that's cool. That works out. And so any of it worked out a madness talent yet, but that's okay. It's also, this can be a thing where entirely your characters may not discover them until they happen. So that's always an option with this. Thankfully, this is a very flexible system. So over to Nancy. What are your responses?
Jim, have you watched Futurama ever?
I have watched Futurama ever.
You know that episode where Fry's drinking all the coffee?
Yes!
Welcome.
Yes,
to
I
Nancy.
do.
Nancy is fast. Like, faster than anyone, as tired as she has a right to be. And it's not just that she's fast at running, it's like tasked. It's like being in the editing lab. She's just moving faster than anyone. Which is why she's getting stuff done so quickly, and that's why she has the time to think, and that's why she's filling up that time doing things that maybe aren't so safe. Yeah, that's the exhaustion talent I thought of. And she likes coffee also, in case you didn't know. Yeah. I could drink coffee right now. And for madness talent, I just wrote time stop, which is also from that Futurama. It's a
natural progression of that.
Right? I think so. I think they work together.
Everyone knows if you drink enough coffee, time stops.
Time stops.
That's how that works.
Yeah. I know.
Excellent. So one thing I will make a note of, and that is a thing that is on the character sheet that I probably didn't provide any notes on. You may see a place on the character sheet where it says scars. Probably not in the Roll20 because I forgot to put it in there. But basically, those are going to be on the lookout for moments that you think might scar your character emotionally, or generally it's emotionally, but it can also be psychologically, emotionally, physically, however. Usually more one way or the other. And yeah, because you don't have actual physical damage in this game per se, but I mean things can happen. But if you want those, then I'm going to try at the end. I'm going to try to remember at the end of each session to go around and ask if you had anything that you think scarred your might have given your characters a scar. And if you do, you can write that down, and then you can use those later to help you out with something later. If you can recall a scar, or you can transform a scar to do things with it. And obviously, I'll be going into more detail about that for future sessions, but this I'll be checking at the end. But that's kind of a sort of an XP-ish type thing that happens, but that's really the only XP-ish thing that happens in this system. So now the last thing I want to ask everybody is going to be a much more open question that may require a bit of discussion, and that is, I think that we kind of, well, we didn't really reach a consensus per se on it, but I think that perhaps your characters all know each other in some way, and it can be sort of at least that you at least kind of know each other, which would mean that maybe you're all part of some group or other that goes to if it's a the way that I kind of see these things is that logically it would be one of two things. Either one, you've all traveled in enough circles and know enough people in similar circles that you all kind of know each other. That's one thing. And you're all part of some group thing that way. Or you all came together after you started with the Insomnia because of the Insomnia. For whatever reason, did you typically either it's we all ended up in the same coffee house, or which was the only thing open, or it can be a thing where like I went to group therapy at the community center, and these are the other people I met there. So it can be either typically either one of those. But what do we think? How does everyone know each other?
I've got a suggestion that might work based off of Anino's character. So he said that he works in the game industry, doing artwork for the games, right? Okay, so since my character does sculpture and Alyssa's character does music, and then Lauren's character does, is into film, it could be that we all ended up getting pulled in on a project. Like Anino was doing art for the project. I was supposed to be doing some kind of promotional piece. Alyssa was doing the music. And, maybe Lauren was either doing some of the film for the game, or she was working on a documentary of the creative process.
Oh yeah, that's super cool.
My God, are we all working on an indie game?
Yes. I'll come up with a terrible documentary title for my documentary about your indie game.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So was there like a Kickstarter going on at your company at the time?
Oh my God, I filmed the Kickstarter video for you.
Did your comments tank the Kickstarter?
I would say that okay, so yeah, why not? I don't think there could be anything that anyone could be hated more for than tanking a Kickstarter.
That's the thing. Maybe it's not necessarily. Maybe there's not necessarily any proof that was what it was, because there wouldn't be. But it's the feeling at the office might have been, at least among the higher ups, was probably we have to blame someone. Oh, this just happened. Let's blame that.
I'm good with it.
What kind of indie game was this? I'm just curious.
Horror? Please?
Sure, why not?
Woo!
Yes. Excellent.
But it's a surprise horror. It starts off as like a nice game with rainbows and fluffy bunnies and everything. And it's not
So
until the rainbow
wait, is it
drops
just
down and cuts the rabbit's head off.
is it just
Okay.
Doki Doki Literature Club? Is that what we made? Please.
Yes, let's do that.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to look that up so that I know what it actually is.
Oh my god, Jim, you will love it.
I've seen the title bandied about. I've not actually looked into it. Oh
So
man.
good.
So something
Sequel
that's
to
perhaps a spiritual sequel, since would be perhaps a different company or something inspired by that.
Wink.
And so yeah, just something where it starts off nice and then slides down into terrible things. Okay, nice. So if this game is how you all know each other, then I guess I'm gonna. Why, Jim? Why are you doing this to them? We haven't even started yet. No, Jim, you have to do it. Okay. So I feel as though something about this is before the event that pretty much there's usually prior to what just happened. There, you were already starting to kind of see things a little bit. You'd been up long enough. You were already starting to feel as though perhaps there were these weird things that you could do. You started to already kind of notice doorways that weren't supposed to be there. But there was kind of an event, a thing that would have happened a little bit prior to that kind of might have been the initial snap somewhat. And we've already been talking about certain things, that's under, a lot of that's under why you can't sleep. But then there's the sort of and we know why you can't sleep, but then but after that, before what just happened, there would have been a thing where it's like, there's a thing over there. And I have a feeling that all of those things are connected to what you did for this game. So I'm wondering if, for example, if Jamaro, there was a particular character that you drew, or a particular thing that you drew, that you created, that kind of bothered you, disturbed you a little bit, and didn't do what it was supposed to do.
Yes, I'm going to say that it was sort of aspiring professional luchadora who had a tsundere type personality. Cross genres.
Okay.
Incredible.
Yeah, I'll need a little help with the second part of that. I am familiar with luchadora.
Tsundere.
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 Ah, okay. Cool. I'll perform my Googling on my own time. I'm not
Definitely
I'm not gonna
pronouncing
use
it
you
wrong.
as-
It's Tsundere. Nailed
Tsundere.
it.
Okay. I shall not use this. I shall not use you as my Google. But I will look into this. Oh, thank you, though. I see the information has appeared in chat. Cool. Awesome.
But I want to say, like, so conceptually, that's what she was supposed to be, but she ended up going more yandere.
Interesting.
Amazing.
Cool. So now I think that for Lila, this music, it might not be the music that you're hearing, or it could be. I'll let you decide that. But something about what you composed for this game didn't do what you wanted it to do. So what do you think happened there? Or Alyssa, can you hear me?
I think maybe I was having a bad day and I was supposed to be recording some sort of happy feel love song, and it ended up turning out to be more of a like frustrated, suspenseful, maybe more of an angry song.
Excellent. You were starting with something happy, and then Philip Glass started creeping in, or something. Who knows? Who knows what? But it started to get just sort of there's this rage sort of boiling beneath the happiness of the song. Does this song have lyrics, or is it just a melody? You don't. I'm not going to ask you to suddenly produce lyrics. I just want to know if there are any.
Maybe that's where that sort of haunting melody I couldn't quite nail down comes in.
A melody that was trying to escape. Yes, excellent. Good. Excellent. So, for Dustin, you were working on, what was it? Sort of sets, or was it sort of item costume pieces for vid capture, or what were you doing?
I think I was working on like some promotional material. Like it was supposed to be sculpts for characters. Either to be like some of them to be like scanned in to help. When some of it just as like, promotional figurines or something. And I think what happened is while working on the sculpts, despite every effort to convey the change to and you have something? Oh, okay. I think in an attempt to go ahead and portray the character becoming warmer and warmer without being aware of what was going on without being aware of what was going on with Jamaru, the sculpts kept taking on a very sinister appearance, or in some cases kind of like a crazed look. Sometimes red paint just kind of seemed in the wrong space, looking like bleeding.
Yes. All right. Cool. Good. So Nancy, did something go wrong with the Kickstarter video?
I mean, nothing went wrong with it. I'm good at my stuff, but something people thought was like a special effect that we added was just something showed up on my film, and I'm gonna have her shoot film because it's like the most pretentious and money wasting thing I can think of.
Of course.
She shot on film, and like something was on there, and she checked everything, she checked the magazine and everything was fine, checked the gate, everything is fine, there's nothing there, but she sees something when she was filming in the studio, and it's just, I think maybe it's a monster or a creature from the game, just like in the background. It's like all the little bits from the new It, where it's just like like he's in the background of everything, and it's like slightly out of focus, so you think, oh, maybe it's just somebody walking by, but she knows it's not. And so I think people thought, oh, cool like idea for your Kickstarter video for a scary game, and she's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was totally on purpose.
Yeah.
Excellent. Delightful. Okay. I think we have enough to start doing terrible things. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. And then in our final hour here, we're gonna go ahead and do and start this thing up, and we're gonna see where it goes. So we shall be back in just a few minutes. See you shortly. we have returned, and we shall begin doing some stuff. Sadly, the gremlins got at my at the audio for my Roll20, so we shall not have accompanying music today, but mayhap next week we shall keep our fingers crossed. I think of the various folks that I'm going to start with. Yeah, I think the simplest for me to start with will probably be Dustin. So the thing that just happened for you, once again to review, is that you're in an investigation because of a because of that wearable sculpture collapsing. And I think I'm going to say that it's probably been that evening has already taken place. That things happened into the evening. You already talked to detectives about it. They already have taken the body away. What did the person look like when wearing the sculpture before it collapsed? Roughly, do you think?
Do you mean what did they look like as far as like
what did the sculpture make them look? Well, what would the sculpture make them look like, basically? Because I assume if it's a wearable thing, then it's what does the sculpture look like, and kind of what effect is it supposed to create?
The sculpture was an unrelated project to the game thing. It was kind of like a personal deal, and it was supposed to be it was supposed to be sea life inspired. So when they were wearing the sculpture, it would have had a vaguely lobster-like appearance.
Excellent. All right. Good. Cool. Just wanted to track that info a bit. Okay. It is I wonder, so did you have any trouble getting back, just as far as continuing to stay in your apartment, or were you okay to basically, after they cleared everything away, were you able to continue? Did you feel as though you would be able the next morning to continue staying at the apartment, or did you go somewhere?
Oh, well, no, that was the incident occurred at a studio. Separate from the apartment.
All right. Okay. So you were not, your studio is not in your home. Okay. Good. Right. And I just assumed it was an apartment. I didn't even think. Where do you live?
Yeah. I'm gonna say it's like, because he's successful, but he's not like Leonardo da Vinci or something. He's just not that brilliant. Yeah. So, I'm going to say that he does struggle a little bit. So it's a modest kind of, 2-room apartment. It's the, with the second room being the bathroom, so when it comes to his actual apartment, everything is either open spaces or it's folding screens used to section off areas.
Okay.
So
Good. So I think that after the detectives let you go, around the time they did tell you there might be follow-up inquiries,
right.
And so that was the thing that was on your mind. Obviously you weren't able to get any sleep that night, but sort of the next morning, as day has been dawning, or as you think it's possibly even the sun's not quite up yet. You what would we see you doing as we zoom in on you?
I think I think Dustin is sitting down on a couch. Well, kind of a couch. It's a little more than a bunch of cushions that have been sewn together and thrown over a stack of milk crates, really. One of his earlier creative endeavors. And he's just kind of blankly staring at a television, kind of watching the news. And I mean, not even at this point, not even really watching the news. It's more just kind of just sitting there staring.
So, as you are watching the news, you will notice for a moment, it's like something happens to the TV signal. For a moment, it kind of it goes to static for a second. And for just a moment, you feel as though you're not quite sure. It's like you see a shape moving around in the static. Just sort of like doing a breaststroke across the screen, seemingly for just a second. It's a little odd. So you're not sure if you're like hallucinating or what, but you kind of snap to when you hear this knocking at your door, this very insistent knocking, and then the TV also snaps to at the same time as you see that they're talking about basically a series of disappearances that have been going on in town. Whether or not there may be a serial killer in the loose, they're not sure. But that knocking, insistent knocking, is kind of just sort of snapped to your attention.
I think Dustin doesn't react at first. When the shape occurs in the static,
Mm-hmm.
I think Dustin is going to be kind of like, that sort of tilt that dogs do when they are confused by something. Yeah. When he sees it, that's his initial reaction, is to just kind of tilt his head and look at it. And I think he's focused on that more than, so intently that it takes a little while for him to acknowledge the knocking.
Yeah.
And eventually he gets up and he walks to the door, but the entire time that he's walking to the door, he keeps looking back at the TV. And even when he opens the door, he's still kind of glancing at the television, not at, who's there at the door.
Okay. Sort of glancing, you open the door, and standing at the door is, well, it's a police officer. But he's dressed kind of like a 1970s motorcycle cop, which is a little strange. He's got the white helmet. He's got the Chips gear on, basically. He's got on the white helmet and the jacket and the he's wearing the browns. And he says, and he's got the sunglasses covering his eyes. And he says, "Good evening, sir. We need to question you."
He's gonna turn around and look at the officer and just kind of stare at him blankly for a moment. before looking out the windows. You said this was just before dawn, right? Or right
Yeah, it's
around
like
dawn?
you can just kind of see the you can still see the sort of very dark outside, but there's just those little ripple of redness coming up on the edge.
And okay. So he looks at the window, and then he looks back at the officer. Aren't you just a bit late?
It's as you're looking at the window, you can also sort of hear. It sounds. You think he's tapping his foot, and you see he's sort of coming around, and he's doing it very rhythmically. Just sort of he's got a very regular rhythm, which he's sort of tapping his foot on the floor. And you come around and you ask that, and he says, "Not at all, sir. We are always on time. Would you come with us, please?" Tap, 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 etc.
Look, I've already answered a bunch of questions, and I haven't had any sleep. Can we do this a little bit later in the day? I mean, my lawyer won't even be awake at this point.
His smile maybe widens by like about a centimeter, and it's like the tapping is getting kind of louder. And he says, "I will have to insist, sir. Please come with us."
All right. Without even really thinking about it, again, I mean, Dustin's usually kind of a blank slate most of the time anyways. He just goes ahead and he turns and starts to pull his jacket off of a chair,
Mm-hmm.
grabs his keys. And the officer's still standing in the doorway, right?
Yep.
You're gonna need to move if I'm going to follow you.
Of course, sir. And he begins backing up.
Dustin's gonna go ahead and close the door behind him and lock it. Put his jacket on and put his keys in the pocket, and he's gonna start walking with the officer.
So as he's backing up, is this apartment? Does the front door open to the outside, or does it open to an internal hallway?
Internal hallway.
So he's been backing up until he's next to one of his colleagues who looks exactly like him. And they're standing at the intersection that leads to the stairwell. He smiles, nods, and he reaches up his hand in kind of almost a jerky fashion, and he gestures to the stairwell for you.
Okay. He's been tapping this entire time. He's been tapping his foot even while he's walking.
That's the funny thing. Yeah, if you're sort of noticing now, you kind of are thinking back, as he was backing up, the tapping was still going on, but He couldn't have been tapping his foot.
I'm gonna... Dustin pauses for a moment. And he kind of looks around. And he looks at the officer. And he goes, "Do you hear that?"
Yeah, what, sir?
There's a tapping.
They just sort of jerkily look at each other, then they look back at you. I wouldn't worry about that, sir.
um huh I imagine at the intersection here where the stairwell is that there's a window.
Sure.
Are there any birds at the window?
Yeah, it's the hour for them.
A what?
Yeah, it's the hour for them. The birds are out.
Specifically, a raven or a crow?
Well, I mean, it's hard to make out. There is a bird at the window. It's hard to tell if it's a raven or a crow or so. It is dark. The bird is dark, and the surrounding is dark, so it's hard to say. That little sort of light, but you can make out the outline of the bird. You can see it. If you had to guess, you would say that it might be a crow, maybe.
Okay. There's this. Is there a stairwell at the other end of this hallway?
Yeah. Yeah, there's more than one.
So there's one at both ends.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna look at the cop. Look at the window. Look back at the cop. And I'm gonna say, huh, nevermore. And then I'm going to run.
You're running in the direction of the opposite stairwell, I take it?
Yes.
Okay. So you hear them bolting after you with a sound, with an almost mechanical sound. And I would like you, at this point, I'm going to ask for a roll in a moment, but first, I need to tell you what you're up against here. So you're up against, there are two of them. This is going to be a pain of 2 that you're going to be rolling against. I'm going to actually go ahead and roll it so that you can see the what you're looking at beating in terms of successes, or matching in terms of successes. 2 successes is what you're going to need if you're trying to get away from these guys.
Right. Okay.
And so, what do you want to do? You can roll your discipline. That gives you 3 dice. And you can, if you want, you can increase your exhaustion beforehand if you want a 4th die. That'll give you an exhaustion die. If you want, you can also bring madness into it if you want to, and that's, just at any time you can choose to roll 1 to 6 madness. Again, that is up to you. The results of the roll will, however, determine both whether you succeed or not and how it's flavored.
Okay. And as far as it's exhaustion or madness, correct?
You can use both if you want.
Okay. Because I'm thinking that having been up all night, he's definitely going to be tired.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I think between having seen the image on the TV and then this tapping noise is just kind of a slight bit irritating to him and confusing. So I was thinking one exhaustion and one madness.
Sure. So you can now remember your exhaustion increase will continue to carry through the rest of this. The madness increase is just for right this moment. So you can add one exhaustion, and what are you doing? So you're gonna have 1d6 of exhaustion right now, under your exhaustion thingy if you want to edit that. So what are you trying to do in getting away from these guys? What is there a particular just running, or is there a particular strategy you're attempting to undertake?
He's running to the stairwell and at the opposite end of the hallway. Mm-hmm. And as soon as he gets to that stairwell, he's going to go ahead and, he's going to be going down the stairwell, almost leaping, kind of sliding down the handrails of the stairwell.
Okay.
So.
All right. So yeah, that again. So. Basically you can roll your, you said you're using one exhaustion and one madness. So yeah, so you roll each pool separately so that we can see what dominates. So you're going to be rolling your discipline and then one exhaustion die and one madness die.
Okay. So it's 3d6 for the discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's 1d6 for exhaustion and 1d6 for madness.
Okay, so you got 3 successes, and so you're good there. Madness, however, is dominating. So what this means is in what you are doing here, you're going to want to check off one of your responses, one of your fight or flight responses as you are barreling out. And things are going to get chaotic.
Okay.
But things are going to happen favorably for you. So, which response are you checking off?
I'm gonna check off the flight.
Okay,
response,
absolutely. You're already running, so that totally makes sense. I think so. The way I'm going to handle this is sort of initially, as your flight response kicks in, as you get to the banister. What does this look like? What do you do?
So he's just kind of bolting. The stairwell. Excuse me. Are these wooden stairs or are these metal stairs?
I think these are wooden.
These are wooden stairs. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's pretty much kind of, he's got one hand on each handrail on either side of the stairs. Mm-hmm. And it's almost kind of a leaping, kind of like he's looking for a step and kind of jumping to it,
Yeah.
Just kind of jumping down the stairs.
Okay.
And if there's a landing partway through, then he of course is going to spin around to the other side and start going down that direction.
So yeah, there's a bit of a downward spiral on this, and you sort of you bolt when you get there because as you look over your shoulder and you see them pursuing you, and they're running basically like the T-1000. You see this. There is this strange sort of gait that they have though, as though there's like something behind the one in, at least the one in front, but you can't quite make it out. And that tapping sound is only getting louder as you sort of leap, sort of grabbing onto the bench, just leaping down to another landing. And you see, and as you are getting closer down to the exit, at the moment, you've got probably, I'm going to say, at least 1 or 2 floors beneath you before you can hit the exit. And so as you are kind of leaping forward and all this is happening, you're sort of, your adrenaline is pumping as they're coming after you, and you kind of risk another glance up as they're entering the stairwell. And as they're racing down the stairwell, you can see them from the side. And you realize the first thing you see, and it's very odd, is they have these big wind-up keys sticking out of their backs. And that tapping you're hearing has been ticking. And the one in the lead calls out, "Wait, sir, we must question you." And he breaks through the wooden railing and leaps down onto the steps just a bit behind you as you are continuing. But you are almost to the exit. What would you like to do?
I'm gonna keep going and just crash through the door to try and get out. Yeah.
So you
exactly.
get down to the base where the exit are, where the exit are. We got to where the exit are, so funny thing about the exit. So the exit would be there's a metal door, right? There are 2 exits. There aren't usually 2 exits, but it's sort of this corner, right? And you've got one door, and then on the other side, on the other side of the corner, there's an identical door. There are right now 2 exit doors leading out of this stairwell. And you're not completely sure which one is the correct one.
I'm going to...
Things have been moving around on you lately.
Okay, so the one door is actually facing the stairwell, correct?
It should.
One is facing, and then the other one is 90 degrees.
You know that it should. Somehow neither of them do.
Oh, okay.
It's
I'm going to go through the one that is the most offset.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just seems like that would be the hardest one for them to turn to. So it may slow them down just a slight bit.
Excellent.
Like it's just, it's just going to be kind of like one of those ones where it's just like, screw it, door number 2 kind of things.
I'm going to ask you to do something that is not in the rules, but I'm doing this anyway. And that's basically to flip a coin. I would like you to so you can do a D2, and I would like to see which door you go through. Congratulations, you've gone through door number 1. You bolt out, and it's the outside of your apartment. You're facing in a weird direction, but it's the outside of your apartment building. I presume this is, since it's a wooden staircase, I assume this is somewhat on the outskirts of town. But you've probably a little lot out here, and your car is probably not very far away.
Okay. I want to modify that result slightly. Again, I'm thinking struggling artist, car's a luxury he can't afford. He uses public transportation.
Oh, okay, that's perfectly fine. I'm delighted with that.
And
Yes, you're out in the parking lot, and you've got a little ways to run to hit to get to the bus stop if you want to do that, or call someone for help if you want to do that. You have a phone, or what would you like to do? You're outside.
I'm thinking run for the bus stop. I mean,
Okay.
that's his normal thought process for mode of transportation.
So you're going to run for the bus stop in an effort to evade. There are, so there are going to be a few people hanging out there at the bus stop because there are a lot of people who have to get up for work this early. So I think the real question is not letting the cops chasing you see what direction you're running in. So I think it's just a question of getting out of sight before they bolt out of there. So I will ask for one more roll for that. Again, you've got your 3 discipline dice and your 1 exhaustion die. And if you wish, you may add madness, but that is up to you. And again, this is going to be, let me roll first so that you have full knowledge of what you're going up against. I got 1 success of pain. So you just need
Okay.
1 success or better.
Okay. Yeah, I think at this point I'm just going to go ahead and roll the discipline pool.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to worry about exhaustion or.
Well, you must roll your exhaustion die because
Oh, okay.
now you've got it.
Okay. Yeah. So in that case.
Okay, 2 successes. You're good. And exhaustion is dominating, because that's where the highest numbers are right now. So exhaustion dominates. This means there is a further little bit of downward spiral, as I believe your exhaustion increases again by 1. So you now have an exhaustion of 2. Let me see if I can open this up. No, of course not. Okay, never mind. Let me reopen this other thing. There it is. There it is. So yes, so you increase your exhaustion by 1, and so as you are getting to you manage just barely to get out of sight before you hear them behind you, and you are spent as you get up to this bus stop, and you see a few other folks that are standing there who are going to be going to work. They're hanging out by the bus stop. There's a little place to sit, but you are essentially you almost want to collapse into their arms. But so it's taking everything that you have in you to stay standing right now, as you're doing this. And I think we're going to hop over to someone else so we can see what else has been going on. I'm going to move to Lila. And so as you left the that place you had a gig. What was it? It was a bar, or what kind of place was it?
Yeah, kind of a bar lounge type of place.
Okay. So yeah, you left that as these people were just sort of looking at you. Were looking, you kind of the owner sort of knew that you knew. He also gave that look as you were leaving, and this has freaked you out a bit. That there was some kind of thing going on there. Where do you go when you leave that place?
Probably go home. you know.
So my question is, do you have a vehicle, or do you take public transportation?
I probably have a vehicle since I have to haul my instrument and stuff.
Yeah,
It's easier just to drive myself.
that's cool. Um, so yeah, as you get into your, I presume, is it a car or is it what type of vehicle is it?
Yeah, I, I would say it's probably a little old Toyota, probably about 10 years old or so.
Excellent. Good, good. We like those. Um, and yeah, you get into your car, and I'm gonna presume that this lounge is somewhere sort of maybe downtownish, in this city, in the city slumbering, as we call it. No one in the city slumbering calls it that, but that's what we call it. Um, and yeah, you get you get in, and you're driving past. Um, there's not a lot of traffic right now because it's crazy late. It's probably like horribly early in the morning, um, as you're driving back, and you pass a number of billboards that are up sort of on the sides of buildings, um, where you see it looks like a couple of different ads with the same model in it, which is weird. Sort of a looks like a young adult, young girl. It's like holding a tube of toothpaste, and then also there's a shot of her holding a violin for something. You notice this recurring imagery, um, and as you are getting further, you're just about to get out of the downtown area and more into the sort of the outer ring, the outskirts of the city. Um, and this is more a question of like your character's sense of obligation and character. I'm about to ask. Your phone starts ringing.
Okay.
Do you pick it up whilst driving?
So I have my phone in the cup holder on my dash in my actual car, so I can hit the swipe to answer and hit the speaker.
Okay, cool. So you do that, um, and you answer, and you hear, "Is this hey? Is this Miss Mendelson?"
Yes.
Ah, good. Um, Hi, my name's Holden Johnson. I run an agency that tries to sort of promote talents like yours, and I was just in. I just got the opportunity to hear your performance, and I was kind of taken aback by it. I was wondering if perhaps we could arrange to meet.
Okay.
Excellent, excellent. We service a lot of different areas, and so I'm pretty much free from here on out. I don't know if you wanted to meet this, but I do have kind of something I got to catch tomorrow. But I'd be available within just say about half an hour if you wanted to do a meeting this evening, or if you wanted to do a meeting this morning. Otherwise, I can arrange elsewhere if you absolutely need it.
Yeah, I'm free this morning. Um,
Great, great, that's wonderful. Where would you like to meet?
so I will name like a coffee shop, sort of in the suburbs.
That's fabulous. Okay. I know that place. lots of lots of early risers there. I'll be there.
Right, I'm on my way.
Really looking forward to working with you, Lila. And he hangs up. You do you immediately go to the coffee shop or do you go somewhere else?
Um, I will. I will probably go to the coffee shop. Thinking maybe I can get there early. Text my roommate. Say I'm gonna be late coming home.
I'm assuming that your roommate is asleep and probably is not going to get the text until
Probably.
until until they awaken. Um, but yeah, so you'll do that. But when do you do that after you get to the coffee shop, or do you do that from the car?
I will do that after I get to the coffee shop.
Okay, so you're going to get to the coffee shop, and you're going to, as you are coming in through the door, since I assume you just sort of diverted there immediately,
Yeah. Yeah.
as you're coming through the door, you see a man in a long, amongst the usuals that are here at this hour. You see a man in a long, what was the name of that color? It's an off. It's a sort of a sort of a tannish brown. We'll call it for now. Taupe might be good. Quick, get the swatches. No, wait. We'll figure that. We'll figure out that coat's exact shade before this campaign
It's
ends.
taupe.
But he's wearing a coat that is probably taupe, and he is in taupe. And as he rises up, he's got a coat and a kind of a which actually is probably a little unusual for this weather, but since it's probably not quite that cold yet, but he's got it on, and he's wearing a very nice dress shirt, sort of for going out type deal, and he stands and he smiles just as you enter, and he and he's holding up a cup of coffee, and he says, Lila, I took the liberty of getting what I think is your usual, probably, if I'm guessing right. And you can hear his voice. It's the same guy from the phone.
Thanks.
You actually looking at his face. There's something a little familiar about him. He's might have been at the lounge you were at,
Okay.
which it's kind of. He got here really fast. He had to have been heading here already in order to have gotten here this fast. Although you are looking around and you do see that there are there are a couple of extra doors and windows in this cafe from the ones that you remember, but you've been seeing those a little lately as you walk in. But everything else seems fairly normal. There is someone just sort of heavily in the corner standing out a little bit because they're heavily swaddled in something, and just this kind of big kind of raincoat hat type affair, and but so that's a little weird too. But so he stands up and he's holding this coffee out to you. And what are you doing? He has perfect teeth.
like Johnny Depp in Willy Wonka.
Almost. It is practically at that level.
Okay. Well,
But it's yeah, they're very good.
I will take the coffee cup because I'm trying to be polite, but I'm just gonna I'm gonna act like I'm waiting for it to cool, but I'm a little creeped out.
He's got he gestures to another seat on the opposite end of the table. Please have a seat. And he's got this briefcase, this expensive leather briefcase that he sets. He's picked up from a chair and he's setting it on the table, and he's sort of flicking back and forth the combination, and he sort of opens it a little bit, and he pulls out a file folder. And he says, "So we do a number of different things. We handle models, and we also handle we handle a few actors. We also handle musicians, and we're very interested in your compositions."
Great. Thank you. This is a little unexpected, but glad to hear it.
So, yeah. So, there are a few different. There are a few different folks that I could connect you up with here. There are a lot of different. There are folks really looking for talent, and so it's really just a question of kind of which direction you sort of want to go in. Do you see your music as being something you want to have, say, playing out of, say, like jukeboxes, that kind of thing? Or would you be more interested in it being just the kind of thing that people catch on they hear concerts like on the radio or on TV, and then they just can't get the song out of their head? Do you have a preference there?
Well, I definitely enjoy doing live shows.
That's good. That's interesting. Okay, yeah, that gives me a better idea.
I don't know if I have a really pop radio sort of style, so I'd have to think about that.
Oh, well, that's understandable. I mean, it's just a question of sort of how and where and when to sell the things, but there are channels for everything these days. That's the exciting thing.
True.
So, yes. it's like we're really looking for the kind of song that folks just can't get out of their heads. Have you encountered anything like that lately?
Well, you always know you've found a good hook when you can't get it out of your head.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, that hook gets you right in the head and just pulls you along, just like a trout. And sooner than you know it, you're just gasping for air, and you can't live or breathe without without that hook say so. That's the kind of thing we're looking for. I think you've got it.
It's quite a vivid description.
uh, it's these flights of fancy sometimes take me. But there are a few different places. Yeah, there. I think I might want to hook you up with certain. There's a broadcaster that I think would be very interested in your talents. And he sort of he looks over his shoulder when he says just right after he says that, and he kind of he looks over his shoulder at the guy that's in the trench coat, the person in the trench coat. You can't even see underneath it, and he kind of is leaning in. But I mean, it's the kind of thing sort of in these parts you might want to keep under your hat because they're pretty big. They're going to be really big very soon. They're just expanding all over the place like crazy, and they've got stuff in so many people's heads these days. I mean, it would be kind of a boon, I think, for you if you could get your stuff out there so that absolutely, let's say, within the first few days, I don't want to brag, but, well, and again, I don't know for sure, because one can never absolutely know for sure, but this guy seems to, his claim, right, is that he can get you out in front of in the heads of about 1 million people within a very short period of time. I think that would be a hell of a boost for you. I'd be happy to broker that contract for you, if you would be interested.
That's a pretty big number.
It is, isn't it?
Definitely,
It's crazy.
definitely a wider reach than I have at the moment.
And I mean, there's a lot that would go with it. A lot of times now they might ask you to do a few, and there would be live concerts involved in that. Obviously, they do have this thing with live venues that they do set up, even though they're also broadcasting. And every time he's saying the word, he has the word broadcast or anything with the word broadcast in it, he kind of is leaning forward and saying it a little quieter than everything else that he's saying. As though he doesn't want everyone to hear that he's talking about broadcasting for some reason. So if you want to do that, we could basically get you set up very shortly. In a very quick bit of time. I just have to make a couple of calls, and we could make it happen.
Okay, what's the catch?
Oh, well, I mean, I get a cut.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do you have some
10%.
paperwork that I can look over? Or?
Absolutely, I've got it right here. He takes, he opens the file folder, and he hands you this contract. That it's a representation contract, basically. would just say that he can any job. The basics are any job that this agency gets you. You see immediately words like there are a lot of words on this, but the ones that you immediately catch your eye is that basically you see 10%, yes, and there are things where you fill things in, and agency is written very big in places. Are you going to sit there and take the time to study it, or what are you going to do?
So I think I'm gonna ask him like how soon he wants an answer.
Well, I do have another case that's kind of being looked into, and he glances over his shoulder again at the kind of at the person sitting in the corner. But I think they're probably going to go in another direction. They're not going to be going necessarily into broadcasting. Possibly. I mean, they might. They might. Depends on how negotiations go with that party. But it's there's sometimes you get clients that get a little rowdy, and they want to kind of just do their own sort of investigation on things. You know how it is. But there is the possibility that she might actually swing in that same direction. So, as far as for this broadcaster, for joining the broadcast, but and within the next day, probably be the best. We're going to be talking to a lot of folks. It could happen pretty soon. And I mean, I'd still be willing to represent you for anything, as in other directions as well. It's just this one slot's probably going to get taken up soon by somebody.
Of course, I'm sure lots of people would be very eager to jump right in. I just want to make sure I have all my ducks in a row.
Yeah. You don't keep ducks, do you?
It's just an expression.
Right! Yes, those ducks. Okay, got it. I'm kidding. No. Yeah, so no, just, he reaches into his pocket and he says, and he says, here's my card. That line goes directly to me. I give this to very few people, but I think you're worth it. He hands you his business card. You look down at the business card, and you see again his name, Holden Johnson, talent representative and CEO, and the name of the talent agency is right there on the card, and it's Johnson and Hitler talent agency.
That's memorable.
He says, yeah. Folks get that. Folks have that.
Well, they say never judge a book by its cover, so I will do my homework and I will get back to you by the end of the day.
Looking forward to it.
And I'm gonna get up.
And actually, he kind of glances over his shoulder, and you see, as you're standing up, you see that figure in the corner rising. And again, their hat is sort of down low over their face, and just kind of looked, and so Johnson looks over his shoulder and he looks back at you. And if you're heading out, you might want to hurry. Just friendly word of advice.
And I'm going to walk very quickly toward the door.
Okay. There is more than one exit. Normally, you only see one exit to this building in that direction. Now there are two. They're sort of side by side. These glass doors. And
Hey.
you kind of sense that this person in the corner is kind of also moving toward the exit, same exit, well, direction you are.
Seem like they're just following me or hurting me in a particular direction.
It's hard to say, but there is a suspicion.
Okay. Two identical doors. Double vision out the glass door.
It's weird. It's kind of maybe
A little foggy.
yeah, a little foggy.
Okay. I am going to try to pick the door that is closest to where I parked my car.
Excellent. I'm going to ask you to flip a coin for me, or roll a d2, and we will figure out if you are going through door number 1 or door number 2. Congratulations, you have gone through door number 1. Your car is right outside.
I'm gonna get in my car and lock the doors.
You get in your car and lock the doors, and you see this figure just sort of shouldering its way through, like its shoulders are almost too big to fit through the door. There's only one door there now, by the way. But as you get in, you lock the doors. You start up your car, and as he's getting closer, you see something kind of shining a little bit from inside, like just the way the light, there's like a light from a lamp that's glinting. You can't see a face. It's kind of dark, but just under the hat, it's like there's something metal down there. And that's, I think, when you pull away. We don't have a huge amount of time left, but I am going to hop over to Nancy for a little bit.
I'm terrified. Let's go.
Excellent. So you found that as you were sort of walking, you were walking that night. You had there was an individual behind you who was kind of shabbily dressed, but sort of wearing a big overcoat and a hat. And that image kind of stuck with you. This is walking home after class. And after a bit of time, they seem to maintain a good distance. How far from where you go to class is your home?
I actually think she may live in like the kind of grad student provided dorms on campus.
Cool.
But just on the opposite side of campus from where her class is.
Yeah, so further out.
Yeah.
So this is not too late at night, where this is going on. But the person seems to be pacing you. At this part of the campus, sort of as you are kind of getting away from, where the, people have sort of been spilling out. College students have been spilling out everywhere, all over the place, out to go into the city slumbering and do their various evening activities, whatever it is that college students do when they go out, which probably involves large amounts of alcohol. And you're getting to the point that there is, I'm imagining, on this campus. By the way, is this campus in a self-contained thing? Is it like on its own property, or is it scattered amongst other city buildings?
Let's say scattered.
Okay. So you are in the heart of a city as this is happening. And you are just sort of... so you pass under a bridge. You have to pass under a bridge to get there. And as you're doing so, your phone starts ringing. And you look at the number on it, and it is Alice's number.
She completely loses track of everything else and picks up.
You pick up the phone.
Alice?
Al,
I can't
dead.
understand. She tries to call back the number. She stopped walking.
Okay. Call back the number.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to give me one detail about Alice that is, what was she wanting to do? Was she going to school for something?
Yeah, she was studying psychology.
Excellent. Okay. Ah, good. Okay. So yeah. Oh God. Okay. All right. No, it's fine. Everything's fine.
Okay.
So you call the number. You're trying to call the number back, and your signal's just crap under this bridge.
Yeah.
You're discovering. So you're probably going to need to move to a place where you can we need to get out from under the bridge before you can.
Yeah. She's gonna just start moving and not really paying attention to where she's going. Not really looking up from her phone. She's just waiting for those bars to increase.
Okay. So you get out from under the bridge, and the bars start going up finally.
Mm-hmm.
So you dial the number.
Yep.
And you call back. And it rings. And it rings like 4 times. Then 5 times. And then you hear this. You hear it pick up. And it's like a sort of a... It's a very bad connection. There's like some static in there. And you hear a voice that is not Alice's. This is a man's voice saying, "Hello?"
Hi.
It's funny, this phone doesn't ring very often. How are you calling me?
This is my sister's number.
Your sister? Who's your
Why do
sister?
you why do you have her phone?
I do not have her phone. I think you've been redirected.
Uh,
I, who
I
is
don't
your
think
sister?
that her name's Alice. I don't think that happens with cell
Alice.
phones.
Interesting. Ah. No, she's working, I believe.
Sorry, didn't you just say this wasn't her phone?
No, it's not her phone. No.
But
But-
I called her number.
Yeah, this is as close as you could get. Which is actually quite an accomplishment. That's very good. You must have quite an imagination.
Who are you?
And he says, my name's Klaus.
Cool. That's great. Can I talk to my sister?
She's not here, but she has been rather busy as just trying to get into it. It's I think if you want to try to reach her, if you really wish to, I don't know that it's in your best interest right now, but if you really wish to, you might want to check that paper over there. And you're not sure what he's talking about for a second, and then you see a newsstand.
This is really fucking weird. Yeah, she kind of doesn't know what to do, but then she charges over to it and grabs a paper.
Grab the paper. And you're not quite sure what it is you're supposed to be looking at. It's a local paper, for local city paper, or at least, well, it looks like it at first. Like it's just a regular local city paper. But, yeah. The title of the paper, you realize it's while it's got the same layout, the headline, the title of the paper is wrong. The name of the paper is The Nightly Revealer. That is not the name of the local paper. And on the kind of underside, as you're sort of looking at it, there is the first thing you're going to notice is that there's an article, but there is a picture of Alice.
She's got the phone kind of tucked under her ear. Okay, what the hell is this?
I told you, she's working.
Where?
And in the psychiatric ward.
Where?
You really want to know where? Then I'm pretty sure you can find your way here if you, since you're able to talk to me, but it's not going to be pleasant for you, I'm afraid. Are you quite certain?
Yeah, I'm quite certain I'd really like to meet you.
Oh. Well then, look for doors that shouldn't be there, then ask around for the sanitarium. Oh, by the way, I think he's almost got you. You may want to hurry. Click.
She looks
And you
over
look
her
up.
shoulder.
You look up, and very close there is this guy that's been following you. He's like just on the other side of the newsstand. He's gotten this far. And again, his head down, you can't see his face.
Right, can I make out any details at all with him this close?
Yeah, if if you want to stay there and look at him.
Not really.
I mean, you're getting kind of there's not much light here, but there is something weird about his proportions.
Okay.
And
so no, I
starting to
don't.
reach
I
a
don't
hand
need to
out.
know. No,
Okay.
I don't need to know. I'm
Okay.
gonna keep the front page that had Alice's picture on it, and then I just throw the newspaper like into his face. And I run.
Excellent. So you're attempting to distract this individual and run.
Yeah.
So this is going to be against. Wait. Let me find their thing here. I've got their thing. I've got the thing right here. Come on. It's one of the first ones. There it is. Pain of 3. So I'm going to go ahead and roll that so you can see what you need. You're going to need 2 successes or better.
Okay. So I'm gonna roll my discipline,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm definitely gonna add an exhaustion die to this.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
And up to you if you want to include madness or what have you.
Yeah. Let's throw a madness in there. I feel
Are you
pretty.
using your exhaustion talent?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Because you can move really fast.
Yeah.
So
It's her whole thing.
now let's to differentiate between betwixt the minor use and the major use of the exhaustion talent. The minor use means that your 1 die of exhaustion will be a success.
Oh,
Doesn't matter.
Cool.
And that doesn't cost anything.
Yay.
You're picking up the major use is you're going to get at least 1 success because you have 1 exhaustion die. And then if that exhaustion die also rolls a success, you'll have 2 successes from that. That's a
Okay.
major use, but it does cost. It does cost another. It might cost another exhaustion
Yeah.
afterward.
I think I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more of a minor use because it's
Okay.
just getting this up in his
Yeah.
face fast
you're-
enough to skedaddle.
Okay, so yeah, you're gonna have. So you've got your discipline dice and then your
Yeah.
exhaustion die, and that's gonna be a success no matter what you roll on it. But I would like
Okay.
you to roll it anyway, so I can see
Yep.
what dominates.
Got it. Oh my god, I hate everything. Cool.
And-
Great.
Okay.
That's good. That's good. That's great.
Okay, so this is an interesting situation because
Yeah.
it's not going in your favor, but discipline is dominating, which is great, except you're not down anything yet. You can erase that exhaustion if you want, but that's up to you.
Cool.
Because you got a discipline. Your discipline's dominating, which means that whatever it is that's about to happen, you're able to take it pretty much in stride as you maintain control whilst you are running like hell
Yep.
from this fellow. So the thing that happens here is that as you hurl this paper, yeah. He reaches forward and grabs it. And in one swift motion grabs it and has tucked it under his arm as he is chasing after you. And you do at that point see where his face should be for just a moment as you are racing. He appears to... The thing is, you kind of end up, the way things are angled, running back under the bridge
Yeah.
at kind of the one point that a car is coming. So you
Great.
kind of have to it's not going to hit you. You have to just kind of dive to get out of the way. But you do see where his face should be, kind of in a street lamp underneath. And what you see is this big, long, narrow sort of bar of metal that ends, you think there's like a... Yeah, there's some kind of point, not a point, there's some kind of nub under there that it ends in, under the hat, like it's a big pin that's sticking up and the hat's resting on top of it. That is where his head should be.
Yeah. Is the car that just dodged me a cab by any chance?
It is not a cab, but it is sort of trying to move around you. It's an SUV.
I would never get one of those.
But you are sort of pulled back, and there's this, you've got these. You're in sort of underneath the workings of the bridge, and there's a big girders and crap. You do see there is, so you can try to continue to sort of duck around that and try to head out the other side, or there is a doorway behind you.
In the
that's-
bridge?
Yeah, there's a door that's like on the side of this girder, this concrete sort of post at the end of the bridge. It's a wooden door, a white wooden door with a doorknob.
She pulls it open.
There's an alleyway on the other side. Looks like. Which makes absolutely no sense, but there it is.
Is this the kind of door I can lock from inside?
Doesn't appear to have. I mean, it's got a keyhole. You'd probably need a key to do that.
Sure.
You might be able to. That does open inward. You might be able to. I don't know. Move something in front of it.
She hops inside and looks around for something.
Yeah, there's a trash can.
Great. She will put that up against it.
Slam the door shut. And I'm going to say that the first thing that you see is that the alleyway opens up into a street on which you see this strange kind of calliope-looking thing rolling by on wheels, driven by a penguin wearing a hat. And I'm going to cut away from you there. And so, Jamaro, as we're kind of sort of sort of up against the end times here, but I just want to find out a couple of things. What did you do after you? Where did you go after you left work for the last time?
I went to egg the art director's condo.
Excellent. So, it's late at night. There is possibly alcohol involved at this point. Did you get anyone else to come egg with you, or did you egg solo?
We'll do this solo.
Okay, you are solo egging at the art director's condo. And you got this carton of eggs. You are hurling at the. Do you like go up to his front door and egg that, or do you just egg the side of the building?
So, okay, let's amend it a little bit. So he's got a townhouse, like and he has the end unit. So, being a completionist, Jomaru is going to throw an egg at each window and then empty the rest of the carton on the front door.
Excellent. Okay. So you egg the windows. The art director is not there, thankfully. So there doesn't seem to be anyone there. And a couple of times, someone you see someone kind of wander by. They're on a bike, and they just sort of look up and they say, "Hey, I'm going to call the cops. Don't do that."
Cool. What's that? And Jamaru is going to turn around suddenly and then whip an egg at whoever was talking straight in his face.
You whip an egg at this kid, and he's like, ah! And you hit him, you get him on the shoulder, and he immediately starts pedaling away. Unfortunately, since we're so close to the end, this is where we're going to pick back up again, because what you hear, as you are turning back around to do this, you hear a voice, and it says, "Excuse me, sir, I believe that is illegal. We're going to need to talk to you." And you look over, and it's someone who looks like a 1970s motorcycle cop. And that is where we're going to end this session, for the time being. Now, just briefly, as an ask to everyone, if you encounter, did anyone encounter something this session that you feel might have left a scar on your character? If you did, and you don't have to have, and this was a shorter thing, but if you did, make a note of that, and you'll be able to use that as a scar for one of the future sessions. I will let you ponder on that, since we're like a pastime here, and we shall go around clockwise this time, as we're ending here, and let folks do their outros, and just once again tell folks where they can find you, and any thoughts about this session. And I am this time going to start with Lauren.
Was I supposed to go into Wonderland that early? I'm scared.
There were 3 opportunities for someone to enter the Mad City tonight, and yours was the only one that was taken.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Cool. I'm terrified. I'm Lauren. I'm that salty ginger over on Twitter, and I play games over on Tales from the Grim on Sunday evenings and Monday evenings, and I also run a game of Urban Shadows Monday nights at 9 Eastern over there called Bad Moon Rising. But if you follow me on Twitter, I post those things. Oops.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
I'll be fine.
It'll be all right. Everything's going to be just fine. It's just, it's just an alleyway, and then, penguins driving a thing.
I'm rolling manually from now on.
What? Yeah, one can easily do that. That's no problem. I'm sure it'll be much better. Let's move on to Rock.
Hey, I'm Rock. I can be found on Twitter at Rock007, and occasionally here on Channel of the Doc, playing games with Jim and all kinds of lovely, wonderful people. I'm loving this so far. I really like the way that everything came together, and I definitely think that my character Dustin's got a few things to work through at this point.
Yeah, just a few things going on in Dustin's life that needs to be dealt with. I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be just fine. That bus will be awesome. And Alyssa. Yay!
Hey, you can find me on Twitter at Origami Shuriken. I run a bunch of home games, and I do crafty stuff and post pictures. And this coming Saturday, you can find me on Anino's channel for Extra Life Game Day for a Dresden Files one-shot, which I am GMing, and I'm super excited. And then next week back here with this wonderful group, and I am stoked to be playing with everyone here, and excited to see how much Lila is like me and never does anything impulsive until she does.
We all never do anything impulsive until we do. That's really, I think, what happens. But awesome. I'm very much looking forward to it. Very much. And finally, Anino.
Hey, everybody. You can find me on the wonderful safe place known as Twitter, at Anino Gaming. Um, I had a great time. I still think it's hilarious that we all created tortured creative folks, um, and gone very much meta with it. So, yeah, as Alyssa mentioned, we have a Dresden Files one shot that she will be GMing. I think it's her first GM stream, so that should be good. And it'll be also the first time that I get to play with Jim as players rather than player GM, and got a host of other people that will be making their debut playing a role-playing game. So it should be a lot of fun. I am participating in Extra Life this year. I've got a bunch of prizes and such. The page is linked right there in the chat if you want to make a donation and be entered for some of the drawings. Feel free to pop on over.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, folks, that leaves me. Once more, I am Jim Ryan. You can find me at OtherDoc on both Twitch and Twitter. My website is jim.com, where you can find my Geek Observation podcast and links to my various other podcasts, audio dramas, writings, and such. I've got links down below to my website, Twitter, and YouTube channel. This coming tomorrow night here on this channel, we're going to have a downtime session, a development session of the Invisible Sun campaign, where Shantano is going to have a conversation. Then on Saturday, that afternoon, I'm going to be over on Anino's channel, playing in this Dresden Files one-shot. I am very excited for it. I still desperately need to get my character together really fast, but thankfully I've played Dresden Files before, so I at least have that going for me. Just trying to figure out what I'm going to do. So I'm very excited to see how that's going to go. That evening, back over here on this channel, we will have our Invisible Sun campaign, The Edge of Paradox, that's going on. Then on Sundays here, we do one-shots. The one-shot coming up this Sunday is 10 Candles. It's I'm going to try running it and seeing how it goes. No actual candles will be harmed during the duration of this thing, as we will be using virtual candles. But I am very intrigued by the whole thing, and I want to see how it goes. Technically, I think the sign-up form is still open for that. If anyone else wants to dive in on that, I haven't looked at it. I need to see where we are with that as far as people. I'm probably going to start casting like either probably in the morning. When I'm like awake and stuff, maybe. But sort of get that together. And really looking forward to it. As always, beginners are welcome. And also, of course, 1 week from today, we will have more of this. And we will get to see someone else run from a clockwork policeman. And or perhaps fight a clockwork policeman.
No, he gonna fight it.
Yeah.
He's
That's
gonna
right.
take it
That's
out.
true. He has no flight response. So we'll see. This is probably going to be a very different encounter with a clockwork policeman. I am ready for it. Awesome. Well, folks, when we hit the end card, I'm going to send. This is going to be a little unusual. I was looking for someone I don't raid that often. I'm going to raid Cobalt Press because I know one or two folks that are on the stream there. They're doing their official Midgard campaign. It is a setting I've always been kind of curious about. So if you're so inclined, feel free to hang on for just a few moments and say hello to them with us as we head over there. Again, that will be when we hit the end card. In the meantime, folks, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you next week. Farewell.